there, and welcome to the Animag Podcast.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Animag, the #1 podcast on the planet. I'm your host, Asylum, sitting here with Amicus. And ladies and gentlemen, we made it.
Made it to finale. The finale for the season 2, but we still got one more.
Yeah, this is going to be the last review that we do for the season. That's scripted, so this is episode 12, our review of that. But if you stick around, the next episode that we're going to put out is our final overall review and discussion of just the entire season. It's a little more of a relaxed environment compared to this, where we're basically going down show notes. And you get to fucking hear what the score is going to be for the whole season versus just what we've been rating each and every episode. So that's exciting.
That is very exciting.
I have to say, man, like, getting to the end of this season's actually a little sad for me.
It was very sad.
It's like, okay, so the episode is a little sad, but I just mean as a journey altogether, because we weren't just watching it, we were podcasting it, we were analyzing it, and it's like now that's coming to an end. Although season 3 did get confirmed, it's like we still have to wait for that to happen. And I don't think I'm gonna wait. I think I'm gonna dive into the manga a little bit. Because I need to know what happens, but I saw some comments on the site that were saying season 3 is going to align with a part of the mangas where a lot of shit really happens and it gets really interesting. So like, I want to go in and I want to read a little bit, and if it is that poppin', then I'll stop and I'll just wait for the show.
Oh boy, you know you're gonna get sucked in.
I probably will. I'll probably just hammer the rest out in the manga.
But the bad thing is, usually what manga readers do is don't even bother to watch the show.
Oh no, this is one of those shows that I'm gonna watch, and from what I could see, it looks like Kazuya's a little bit shittier in the manga versus how he is in the show. In my head, that's fucking batshit crazy, because how can this guy get any worse?
True.
So let's do it, ladies and gentlemen, for the last time this season in a scripted podcast. Let's dive right in. So I'm not saying that I thought this episode was bad, because it wasn't. It was pretty good. I only wish we would have gotten this a little earlier in the season. Apart from the episode, really and truly, the only other episode that felt like something major was happening was when Mommy went to Kazuya's work and she was dogging Ruka. Remember that?
Oh yeah, roasting the shit out of her with that one line.
I feel like this episode and that episode were two that were just the meat of this season. And that's, I don't know, that might hurt the overall rating a little bit. Because we got a whole season and I feel like nothing really happened. If they would have rearranged some stuff, like the first half of this episode with Chizuru's grandparents, the whole flashback stuff, if they would have put that in the middle of this season and kind of did a little less for the last episode, I think it would have flushed out the season a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like they should have put that after Chizuru's grandma was in the hospital and didn't show us the flashbacks.
That could have been a good spot to put it, or in the episode where she was on the front balcony of the apartments with Kazuya, telling him her aspirations in life. I think that would have been a pretty good spot to maybe put it. So, the episode opens at the hospital, and Chizuru's telling her grandma that she needs to leave and go to acting school, when her grandma replies with, "Thank you, nurse." So this is an implication that her grandma is really worse off than we may have thought, you know, because now she's somewhat delusional in her head to where she doesn't know that this is Chizuru that she's talking to. She just thinks it's a hospital nurse. And I think because this was the finale, as the intro rolls for this episode, they let a scene play during it. So you're hearing the music and then you're getting some stuff happening. The scene is basically Chizuru at acting school and explaining how there are 65 students in the school or in that class, and there are only 2 students who wind up getting signed with an agency each year. And she says that even fewer actually wind up getting work, meaning if you want this, you really have to work for it. So we get a glimpse of that hard work that she's putting in when we see one of the students ask Chizuru if she wants to go get some food with them. She says that she has rehearsals and she can't, and then we see another student come up and she's praising Chizuru to the guy who asked her to go get food, saying how she never misses a single lesson. And she's doing all that and visiting her grandma in the hospital twice a day, every day, plus 2 auditions a week. So we finally get a breakdown of how hard Chizuru is actually working for this and how much she has going on in her life. Plus the rental girlfriend stuff. So that's a busy fucking life.
Very busy. And then you have this annoying ass guy that tries to rent you.
The same guy over and over. So we learn here that acting school cost 24,000 yen a month, which may seem like a lot, but it's only 166 United States dollars. So that is a lot, but I had a feeling that it was going to be more than that. And here we see the guy that she was holding hands with at the end of the last episode, and you called it. It was indeed just a rental date that she was on. Thankfully. I thought our girl went ahead and was getting rid of Kazuya.
Nah, she got Kazuya in her head.
And after the intro song and all the clips finish, we get sent back to the hospital. And the doctor is telling Chizuru that her grandma has not been eating much lately. She goes back home and she's sort of thinking about how she won't be able to be in a movie quick enough for her grandma to actually be alive and see it. She gets a text about a movie audition she went and did, only to be told that they will not be picking her. And she goes up to a picture of her grandpa and she says, "I failed again." This throws us into a major flashback that will last until midway of the episode. Mm-hmm. So the flashback was 7 years ago, and Chizuru, her grandma, and her grandpa were all living together, and her grandpa was still alive at this time. Her grandma was 70 during this time frame. And here we learn that as cool as we may think her grandma is, her grandpa was much cooler. This guy had some swag.
He did.
We see her grandpa tell her that dreams always come true. This kind of becomes a really big thing with her grandpa. He takes her to a shrine, and apparently there's this thing where if you go up and down the stairs of the shrine 100 times, your prayer will get answered. And her grandpa says praying to the gods works. And he starts to tell her a story of how the night he and her grandma got married, he took a note of his emotions there, and before he can finish his story, Chizuru's like, that's just superstition. She's not fully sold on this. She doesn't really believe it, I guess. And then they show him kind of like standing behind her as she's saying this, and he's got this fucking shocked face on. His mouth is wide open. We learn that even as a kid, Chizuru loved books and movies, and she would go to the library even on her day off to go read. She saved all of the money she could just to go see movies. She had heard that her grandma used to be an actress, so aside from obviously loving movies, I'd say that knowing her grandma was an actress may have had a little bit to do with her deciding it was what she wanted to do. You kind of want to follow in your family's footsteps, I guess.
Yeah.
It was when she was in the 9th grade that she decided that being an actress was what she really wanted to do. We see her at a movie store and she's looking and her face drops. Her jaw literally drops to the floor. She winds up finding a movie that her grandma was actually in. And on the cover of the movie, it said starring Atori Sayori, winner of Japan's Rising Star Award. So apparently her grandma was a big deal. And the movie was called 1000 Cranes, which is kind of important. She takes the movie home and she shows her grandma, and this takes her grandma back a little bit. And she was kind of embarrassed because Chizuru's like, I want to watch it with you. But at the same time, like, why be embarrassed? This is your work and it's what you want it to do. It's what you love to do. So just show her. And they watch it and Chizuru is blown away. Her grandma was a fucking prodigy. Atori was her stage name and she was a method actor. If you don't know what that is, Google it, or the best that I could say is Shia LaBeouf is a method actor. It's basically a person that, like, they don't have a light switch. They can't just go into acting mode on a whim. If you get a role as a bum, they have to basically live as a bum for weeks before the movie starts, so that way they're fully in character. So that's what her grandma was. And then, like, apparently her first role ever took the acting world by storm. So her grandma tells her that Chizuru's name was taken from the title of the movie, Sinbazuru. She says that Chizuru's mom used to say like 1,000 folded cranes all the time. She wanted Chizuru's name to grant wishes and bring happiness. So that's how she got her name. So we see young Chizuru walking. Her present day self is narrating the scene, saying, "It was then that I learned you don't have dreams, they take over you." And as she's walking, she's reading the script from the movie that her grandma was in. And she says, "Can I be like her too?" So as her grandma and grandpa and her are all eating dinner, I think it was just later that day, she tells them that she wants to be an actress. Obviously, having been in the industry, her grandma tells Chizuru, she's like, the world of acting is not easy. And then her grandpa, being the cool person, runs over to her and he's like, is that your dream? He's just screaming in her face, you can do it. You can do it. Just do it. It's obviously like any good parent would do, but she's got both sides of like her grandma, who was in that world, knows that it's shit and probably a hard job. And she's like, all right, just be cautious. And then her grandpa's like, fuck yeah, get in there. Get in there. He tells her that the world is changing and the future is unknown, so she still has to go to school. Then he's like, regardless, I'm happy that you were finally able to say your dreams out loud. And her grandpa just seemed like he was a really super supportive person. You know, he's obviously not going to sit there and shit on her dreams. He's like, fuck yeah, but just, you know, go to school, have a backup plan. But this happy moment comes to an end, however. We see Chizuru going through the motions of school and acting classes when we see her grandpa in a car at a red light. And as it turns green, they take off and a truck, a big giant semi-truck, fails to stop and hits her grandpa's car. And the next scene we get, they're at the hospital and Chizuru gets there and she asks if her grandpa is going to be okay. And her grandma says no. So Chizuru turns around and she just takes off running. She looked up at the operating sign. She got something in her head. She takes off. She gets to the shrine that her grandpa had took her to earlier. She takes off her shoes and she starts running up the stairs and she prays. She goes up and down 100 times barefoot, like her grandpa said. And it cuts back to the hospital and we're in the room with her grandpa. We learn that his brain suffered a lot of damage and the doctors say how he's not coming to, and tonight will wind up being the make or break night. And Chizuru enters the room and her feet are fucked up from running up and down the stone stairs 100 times. And then she kind of starts talking out loud to her grandpa, kind of how people do when someone they love is in a coma, trying to give that person a recognizable voice to hear. She says, remember that you said you'd see me become an actress and that I had your full support? She says, you said it yourself, Grandpa. If you keep wishing for it, you can make any dream come true. And at this point, she's crying. This is a really sad scene. I'm probably making it seem less sad because I'm just blasting through it, but this was a really sad scene.
It really was. After knowing the grandpa, oh, he was so cool as fuck.
He was cool. An old, really nice man. This is time, I guess. So just as she's saying this and she's crying, his hand moves a little bit and Chizuru dives in to hold it. And we hear him say, true, wish true. If you wish for it, your dream will come true. And then his hand slowly falls out of hers and his vitals from the machine hit zero on the machine, and we hear the dreaded heartbeat machine stop beating and it goes into one long beep implying that he was dead. This is basically the midway point of the episode because we see like the halfway image marker. Damn, bro, that's some tough shit. And like I said, if they would have put that earlier in the season, I think it would have made the season a lot more fire. More fire. I know that doesn't grammatically sound correct, but it would have been more fire. So cut back to the present day. She's still talking to the picture of her grandpa and she says, did you lie to me when you said your dreams come true? If you did, that's fine. I know some wishes don't come true no matter how hard you try. And she's crying and she's having a little breakdown when the doorbell rings. Guess who the fuck it is?
Kazuya!
Fucking Kazuya. And he's like, open up. And then he basically just barges into her house. Doesn't get invited in. He just, as she lightly opens the door, he pushes it open and just goes in. And he's holding his laptop up in her face and he's like, look! He had been looking up and doing a bunch of research on what crowdfunding was. He tells her how this is a way to make a movie quickly. And he says that most people do this and they make a movie for around 2 million yen, which is roughly 13,000 United States dollars, which I don't believe, but you know, maybe it's just different in Japan. He's like, it's so cheap and it only takes about 1 month to shoot. He's like, that should be enough time, right? And I want to note that he's talking in his loud, excited scream voice here. And Chizuru's like, wait, calm down for a second. He tells her that they can even rent out a screen at the movie theater these days. He says this is basically a perfect chance to have her grandma see her on the silver screen like she had been wishing and dreaming for. He says, remember, I'm majoring in business administration. I'll get the funding. He then says, quotes, let's make a movie together. But I'm gonna... I'm gonna say that for that budget, $13,000, the only movies I know of that can be filmed for so little are, well, never mind, but let's just say they aren't of the type that her grandma would want to watch. And also just the way that he said, make a movie with me may have not been the best way to ask a girl to make a featured film with versus just making it sound like he wanted to make a porn with her.
Of course, here we go.
So after all of this, she says, sorry, I have to think about it. And he goes, we don't have time for that, which obviously Chizuru knows. She says, just let me think. And then she closes her door in his face. So he's back in his apartment and he's losing his mind. He goes, the clock is ticking. He's like, what is Chizuru doing? Is she racking her brain in there? Then he pictures her in the shower, of course. 9th fucking shower scene of the goddamn season. And he thinks about how long making a movie would actually take. He figures about a month to film and a month to edit. And then he wonders if Chizuru's grandma even has that much time left. And he basically winds up saying, screw it. He starts signing up for the crowdfunding site to start the process. And I guess he figured he would just talk Chizuru into it later, after he got the money for it.
Yeah.
And as he's filling out the info, he hears Chizuru's door close and he hears her walking on the balcony, takes a couple of steps and then gets to his door and rings the doorbell. He opens the door and they have a little awkward pause here. It took a while before Chizuru asks if he can really do it. She says that she doesn't want to waste the time that she has left with her grandma and she doesn't want to do it if he's just going to wind up giving up halfway. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. And then he starts screaming again and he's like, I'll show you that I can. It seemed a little fucking aggressive right here. And I guess this aggression sent Chizuru into a flashback to when he jumped off the boat to save her way back in season 1. And she's like, man, men really are idiots. They put on airs and they have their heads in the clouds in this world of dreams that do not come true. But out loud, she says, then please make my movie so grandma can see it. And Kazuya says, you're on. I swear I'll see it through no matter what. And we get the credit song starts right here, man. Really sad.
Really sad.
I don't know why the credits hit me that hard for this season. I was kind of upset that it started.
Oh my god.
And after the credits, we see Kazuya. He's in his room. He's slamming Monster drinks and he's working on stuff for the movie. We even see him out at school and his friends ask him to go out with them and he goes some other time. We see him at work working on stuff for the movie. He's reading a book that's titled How to Make a Movie. And
How to Make a Movie for Dummies.
Making movies for dummies. Ruka was behind him trying to get his attention, and this dude completely ignored her. He's working. He promised Chizuru. Then we see a sign on a floor that says Rich Encourage, and then there was also a dog's ass in this picture. And we see Sumi standing outside of a store. Not too sure what the store was, or if the sign was also related to her, but her storyline is so small in this season, specifically, that it doesn't really matter anyways. Then we see a Saki shop profile on Twitter, obviously Kazuya's mom and dad's shop, and mommy is still on her shit. Looks like she was tweeting something to the shop, and she even asked herself, she's like, do I have no life? Bro, get over this man. Jeez.
Damn.
We see the two grandmas at the hospital, and they're just talking, having a good time. Then we see Kazuya and Chizuru run into each other in front of a cafe, and then we see some stairs with a sign that says move in and pack in as someone's head walks into the frame a little bit, and it was some black hair with a little bit of blue in it.
Yeah, that's back at Kazuya and Chizuru's apartments.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't think so, man. It looked like a whole different place.
Nah, I'm just...
For the listeners, this is the new girl that we mentioned 5 or 6 times in the first few episodes and that never came. This is the new girl. And at first I thought it was Ruka, and Thomicus is like, no, dude, I'm telling you. Shows me a picture of the new girl. I do a couple cross references and I'm like, fuck, it is the new girl. And the very last scene of the episode, boy oh boy, was Chizuru naked in a tub, and she's completely underwater holding her knees to her chest. And she's thinking about Kazuya and how he wants to help her make a movie. She comes up for air and she holds her face and says, "Damn it, that idiot." The very last image of the episode says, "Enjoy the rest of this dream with Diamond." And that's it. The third season was confirmed as soon as the episode came out on Crunchyroll. It was confirmed on Rent-A-Girlfriend's Twitter, so we know it's happening, but it'll probably take like a year to come out. So that's it, man. Pretty solid finale.
It was pretty solid. At least it wasn't like season 1 finale.
Yeah, that was my first initial thought about this finale. I'm like, okay, this was better than season 1's ending. Though I don't think the season, and maybe this will contradict what our final score is going to wind up being, because now, you know, we rated our episodes differently back then. I think we did that season as a whole, right?
Yeah, because that was our first...
Was that our first ever?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe what I'm about to say is going to contradict how our score comes out for the finale, our next episode, but I think this season was a little bit shittier than season 1, but I think season 1's ending was shittier than season 2's. I think season 2 had the better ending.
Yeah.
I think season 2 just wasted too much early time in the season with introducing... We'll get into this on the next episode that you hear, the finale. I don't know. I think overall season 1 was better, and season 2 kind of just hypes me up for season 3 now. And in a sense, it kind of feels like season 2 was just a giant big filler season. But that's not true, because we did get a little bit of character development between, you know, all the people involved.
Yeah.
I do wish we would have got more Sumi. I think that Sumi got kind of fucked in this season.
Yeah. Ruka just got roasted.
Ruka got her ass fucking destroyed. Mommy's on some really fucking devious shit that I don't really like, because now she's trying to bring his family into it. You know, it's like, at what point, sure, Mommy's older than Ruka, but at what point are you just acting like a fucking child, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Chizuru's just the queen. She can do what she wants. She may take too many showers, but... Never thought I would be saying that, but god damn it, this was too many shower scenes for Chizuru.
Come on, man. The Arthur is in love with Chizuru.
That's what you said. That's weird, though. So I don't know, man. Pretty tough rating for this one. Really tough rating for this finale.
Yeah.
I'm torn between a 7 or an 8. It's not a 9. It's definitely not a 10.
Yeah, it's definitely not a 10.
Honestly, I feel like no matter what we give this, it really won't affect the final score. I feel like the final score, taking a glance at all of our scores, is kind of locked in at this point. But
Well, anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it an 8.
giving it an 8, okay. Honestly, I'm not gonna be a dick and knock it because they didn't put that flashback earlier in the season, because that's just me kind of whining about shit, you know, because that did make this a good episode, because we finally got to see shit about her grandparents that we kind of were waiting for. I'm gonna give this an 8 also.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty strong closer for a season.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that this season didn't have its hiccups, because we did rate a couple pretty low. Like episode 8 got 5s from both of us.
Kissing.
Episode 10 had 6s, but everything else was pretty much 7s and 8s throughout the season. So I think, not sure, but I think it's probably going to wind up being a 7 or an 8 for the final score. That's for those of you that don't want to listen. That's just my guess. But if you want to know, tune into our final thoughts for the season.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Too bad we ain't gonna have a character Hall of Famer, because the season is still going on.
If they wouldn't have announced season 3, I might have tickled the thought of announcing a Hall of Famer from Rent-A-Girlfriend, but I need to know that it's either not coming back or they complete it, you know? Mm-hmm. But man, alright. We did it. A whole season.
Yes!
And
if you're wondering what's next, it's gonna be Chainsaw Man!
Chainsaw Man is the next anime that we're diving into. Confirmed October 12th it starts. So we have to figure out when we're gonna do the recordings and the releases, because October 12th is a Wednesday that it airs.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so release day might change from Friday. It might actually change to like Monday. But we'll let you know, because we do have a little bit of time in between that for like a break. And the next thing obviously that you're going to hear is the final thoughts for season 2 of Rent-A-Girlfriend. But then I think The next podcast that you wind up getting is probably one about Louisiana Comic-Con, because that happens when the Final Thoughts episode goes out on the 30th. Then we do Comic-Con. Then I'll probably on the 7th release the Comic-Con, and then the next week is when Chainsaw Man starts.
Damn.
So, I mean, just be on a lookout. Follow our Twitter, follow our Facebook, or just keep checking. After the 12th, keep checking the website every day. I highly doubt we're gonna watch it on the 12th, record on the 13th, and then drop it on the 14th. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, with so much editing.
So that's pretty much it for this episode, man. It was good, and this was a season. I'll just say it like that. It was a season.
It was a season.
I hate to say it like this because Rent a Girlfriend is one of my favorite animes. We're going to rate it high, but this season really was nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I was kind of hyped for it, but then,
It got to a point towards the back end. I think probably when we rated the 5s on episode 8, I was kind of ready for it to be over. But now that it's over, I'm like, fuck, I don't want it to be over.
Fuck, I want more episodes.
Hurry up with season 3, man.
Yeah, stop fucking admiring Chizuru. Get on with the fucking animation.
This
Let's
man
go.
sits at his computer all day just staring at fucking Chizuru in the shower scenes. He's like, how many shower scenes can I add in season 3? I want 10.
You know what? Every episode.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. I would get super tired of it, but that would be hilarious.
Anime opening is just Chizuru in the shower.
Dude, if it does. Oh, what if it does? Because this one ended with her in the tub, soaking.
Oh my god.
What if it opens with her still in the tub?
Oh my god.
I don't know. That's gonna pretty much do it for this episode. If you're not coming to the Final Thoughts podcast that we're doing next, we thank you for listening to this entire season with us. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. It's been a fun ride, even though the season was kind of bland. It was fun reading your comments and reading all of the Ruka and Mommy hate in the comments, and we appreciate
Kazuya hates.
all the Kazuya hate. So we thank you for that. We love you for that. And that is definitely it for this episode. So until the next time, take it easy and so long, everybody.
Sayonara.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to visit our website at www.animag.org. See you next time.